Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 release Heretic, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get this one watched by the end of 2024, but it became available to rent through Fandango at home soon enough that I was able to do this. So I did end up paying a much higher price than I typically do. With these types of movies, I'll usually wait until the price drops, but with this one, I couldn't. Definitely wanted to make sure I had watched it and reviewed it before I was going to do my list of the best horror films of 2024. So this will be on there, but what number will it be? That's the question. So again, a Fandango at home rental for $21.19 at the moment. If you want to wait, I'm sure in like a month or two, it's going to drop considerably for rental. So you could do that then. But this is a great film. If you are considering it, it's worth it. Written and directed by Scott Beck and Bryan Woods. These two work together all the time. They did films like A Quiet Place, which was a good film, Haunt, which I really enjoyed, 65, which I thought was horrendous, and The Boogeyman, which I didn't end up seeing The Boogeyman, but I didn't hear great things about The Boogeyman. This film stars Hugh Grant. Obviously, pretty much everyone has seen the trailer with Hugh Grant in it, and his performance looks phenomenal in the trailer. I'm here to tell you that his performance is phenomenal in the entire movie. He's magnetic when he is on the screen, and I just wanted more and more and more of Hugh Grant in this film, but that's not to say that he's just in it a little bit. He is in it a lot, and that is wonderful, but it just made me want him to be the entire film. But that's not to say that there isn't other really good acting in this. There is other outstanding acting in this. All the acting is very good, very well handled, but it's just that Hugh Grant's performance stands out so much, not just because of his performance, like how he does as an actor, but also because of how the character is written. It's a very interesting, kind of fun character who's very charming. So, yeah. Well, that leads me to the synopsis, basically, which I'm not going to ruin anything that hasn't been in the trailer, basically, but it is basically about two young women who are missionaries for the Mormon church, and they're going around in Utah, and they go to a specific house of a person, Hugh Grant's character, who had actually specifically asked to get information about the Mormon church. So they're thinking, oh, wonderful, maybe we can, give this person some information. Maybe they want to join. So he, right from the get-go when they get there, it seems a little bit off, a little bit weird, because he wants them to come in. He's super nice and charming, though. He wants them to come in, and they're kind of like, oh, well, we really can't without a woman here. And he's like, oh, my wife is here. And they're like, I don't know. And then he says the whole thing about, they're making some pie. So basically, he ends up getting them to come in, and they end up having a discussion, and things are going well. But then eventually things end up turning, and he's not the person who he has been representing himself as. Now, that's where I'll kind of stop it, because past that, you start to get into the real heavy stuff, the real important stuff of the film, which is, I wouldn't say all, but a lot of the important stuff in the film is dialogue driven, and that dialogue is extremely well written, and I was just glued. I was mesmerized. It makes sense why this film is an A24 horror film, because they end up getting the best. Like, they grab the best scripts, the best directors, and this is the thing. Apparently, this film, the script had been shopped around for a while, and like no one wanted to touch it because of all the stuff that has to do with religion in the film. And it is really risky to make a film about religion, because it's a very touchy subject for a lot of people, myself included, just because I actually, and I'll be honest, I don't have a religion. I've never had a religion growing up. My parents didn't have any faith that they pushed on me, and we never went to church, and I was just kind of left to kind of make my own way and figure out what I thought. And for a while, I was an atheist because of the way I was treated by Christians in my community, very poorly. But then as I got older and I realized, well, that's not all people, and I was just basically reacting to how I was treated with just being an angry, ignorant person, I settled on agnostic. I literally am at the point where I think that probably nobody is correct religion-wise, and it's just not worth my personal time to go down that road, just because, life is short and everything. But, it's a very personal thing. And this film goes deep into religion stuff. So for some people, it's going to be very triggering one way or another, but it is very well written. And if you take it at face value and you don't want to think too hard about it, you can do that. That's totally fine. But if you want to get deeper into it and you want to think harder about it, you can also do that. So if you want to not feel too serious about the religious aspects of the film, there's still a very good film there that has good intensity, and it's just awesome performances, obviously, very well put together, great aesthetic, so all that jazz. But let me go through my notes. I start going on a tangent. The opening scene makes a point of religion being very judgmental of anything not of their own faith, which in my life, as I've kind of talked about, I have experienced a lot of that, but that's not all of what I've experienced, because I've also experienced some really open, amazing people who are very religious. So much like anything in life, it's a total mix of people. And when I was young, what I was talking about when I was young, having like such a bad experience, that was just a finite amount of people. That should not represent all of Christianity in that situation. And for me, it does not now, but yeah. It also sets up a character as having some doubt about her faith. And that's one of the interesting things. These characters are not, the two women, the young women, they are not like carbon copies of each other. They're their own people, and they have their own feelings, even though they're from the same faith and going to the same church and trying to convince this person to join that faith with them. They do it in different ways, and they think very differently. They're their own people. Could have been easy to just been like, oh, they're from the same church, they're almost the same person, but they have their own voices, they have their own characters, and it's very interesting to see how they interact and how they react to what's going on around them, in addition to Hugh Grant's character, obviously. Love the camera work in this film. It is very interesting. It is very engaging, very aesthetically pleasing, super well shot. Love the cinematography with this. Directing is also very well done. Immediately, you feel like Hugh Grant is so good. He's so charming, but he also kind of has this like unsettling air about him while he's being super charming. And he does such a great job of oscillating between just pulling you in and making you feel like, man, I could just like hang out with this guy and just chat with him, and he's so nice and just like accommodating. And then just these little moments that like slip in where you're just like, ooh, but that feels off. But now he feels like a little bit scary. So I just love how unsettling they make it. But then they pull you back in right after that. So by the time you get to the end of the film, you're just basically like, yeah, he's not a great person, but like at the same time, he's really charming. Like I kind of want to hang out with him in a sense. And that means great writing, in my opinion. There are situations that could easily feel like they're kind of whatever with the film, but are made tense and unsettling due to the acting, the cinematography, and the score, and the way those things are blended together in such an expert manner. There was a lot of time and care put into this, and that started obviously with the script. I had read in a Rue Morgue magazine about this film, an interview with the writer-directors, that they had worked on the script for like 10 years or something like that. And part of the reason being they wanted to do a lot of research into religion, obviously specifically Mormonism, but some other religions as well, because they wanted where they were going to go with this film and the arguments that were going to happen between the characters to actually hold water. And I can't say whether they definitely do or don't, because obviously, like I said, I have no religion, so I would defer to other people who are more experts to kind of fill me in on that one. So you can do that in the comments if you would like, and we can talk spoilers in the comments. Go ahead, that's totally fine. You definitely know where things are going. Oh, sorry, you definitely won't know where things are going. In a sense of like the underlying motive, you can kind of get a sense of what's going on here, but you're not going to know exactly what's going to happen events-wise of the film. And that's the great thing. Like it's truly one of those films where you're like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like you are on the edge of your seat. It becomes very tense at many moments of it. A lot of people may find the pacing to be problematic, but the subject matter lends itself to needing to be more dialogue based. Like I was saying, a lot of what's important with this film is in the dialogue. So people who are looking for a snappier pace with a film like this, you might find yourself getting a little bit bored because it is very talky. But for me, it was so engaging, not just how the dialogue was written, but how these characters interact with each other. And again, like I was talking about, those could have been whatever moments that are so engaging just because of the cinematography and the acting and the score. Like it sucked me in. I was riveted for the entire film. And my wife, I got her to watch this with me, and she liked the film too. She did not like it as much as me, but she did like it, which is saying something because she typically, it's hard to get her to watch horror films. So I'll put it that way. The script is kind of brilliant, in my opinion, especially the first probably 30 minutes or so. I think it's particularly brilliant. After that, it does start to degrade some. I don't want to say go downhill because that insinuates it's kind of like a steeper decline. It starts to degrade a little bit, but still overall a kind of brilliant script in my opinion, particularly the dialogue, like I was talking about. So the ending with this film is such that I think people will talk about it 100%. And I have already heard people saying, "Hey, have you seen Heretic? When you see it, I want to talk to you about it. When you see it, I want to know your thoughts on the ending." And it is one of those endings where, personally, I was talking to my wife about it afterwards, and I was saying that I can see this ending meaning having the intention to go three different ways. And I kind of laid out to her what my thoughts were. I'm like, I think it could be like this. I think it could be like this, or I think it could be like this. And the way I think it is, and I'm going to say this, but it's not going to spoil anything. But if you have already seen the film, you'll get a little bit more of what I'm talking about. I think the ending was done so that you as the viewer can choose how you want to interpret it. I think that was an intentional choice. There are these films where the filmmakers are trying to say a certain thing, but people can end up interpreting it a different way. But I think this film was intentionally done so that it says, look at it this way or look at it this way. It is literally your choice as an audience member. Like, that was a conscious effort by the filmmakers to say that to the audience by what they did at the very end of the film. And I think that's awesome. I think it's very smart. And it just speaks to their philosophy on film, how it should be something very personal, much like religion is a very personal thing. Religion should be a very personal thing, and film interpretation should be a very personal thing, even though these things are on very different levels, obviously. But, so anyway, that's kind of all I have to say about the film. Obviously, I really liked it, kind of gushing about it, but out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give it a very good 4.5-star rating. I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was great. Kind of want to watch it again, but I'd have to rent it again or straight up buy it. We'll see. Maybe I'll wait until it drops at that point, but really enjoy this film. But again, would like to hear your thoughts on it. Put it in the comments. Do me a quick favor. If you like this video or any video I've ever done, please subscribe. Just, do that to kind of help me out and show me your support. Also, if you want to go a little bit further, you can. If you want to monetarily pitch in, I do have a link in the description for memberships to my channel, and there are perks that go along with that. And it's a very nominal fee for both of the tiers for what you get each month. But yeah. Oh, and also, thumbs up on the video would help with that YouTube algorithm, and hitting the notification bell button would make sure that you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. But regardless, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this. I do appreciate that very much. And until next time, keep it brutal.